You see, the world today is noisy. Everybody's talking, everybody's posting, everybody's explaining, defending, proving something. But let me tell you something, you don't need to make noise to be powerful. You don't need to argue to prove you're right, because silence, when it comes from strength, is louder than any speech you'll ever give. Silence is not weakness, it's not retreat, it's not surrender, it's not fear. No, silence is restraint, it's discernment. It's knowing when to speak and when to stay still. Sometimes the greatest demonstration of strength is when you say nothing at all, when you resist the urge to react, to retaliate, to justify. There's a time to talk and there's a time to be still. And the world rarely teaches us the power of stillness. But heaven does. There's a kind of stillness that comes when you know who you are, whose you are, and where you're going. When you have that kind of clarity, you don't beg to be understood. You don't fight to be seen. You just walk in peace. And when you walk in peace, people will notice. Some of you have been exhausting yourselves trying to explain your heart to people who never cared to listen. You've been pouring energy into justifying your silence, your distance, your boundaries to people who were never meant to go with you anyway. Stop. You don't owe explanations to those who were committed to misunderstanding you from the start. See, there is a moment when you have to pull back, not because you're bitter, not because you're defeated, but because you're finally wise enough to know that not every battle is worth fighting. Some things you outgrow. Some people you outgrow. And when that happens, silence becomes your testimony. You don't need revenge. You don't need an audience. Just walk away and let your absence speak volumes. There is a holiness in silence, a reverence, a power. It's the space where God begins to work on your behalf. While they gossip, God guards. While they slander, God strengthens. While they plot, God promotes. You don't have to clap back when the truth is your defense. You don't have to lower yourself when grace has already lifted you. Let them wonder why you stopped showing up. Let them feel the weight of your silence, because sometimes your silence is the loudest wake-up call they'll ever get. You were always there. You were always loyal. You were always honest. But they mistook your kindness for weakness. They thought you needed them. They thought you would always be there. But now that you're gone, now that you're quiet, they feel it. You see, silence exposes. It reveals who was only around for your noise, for your energy, for your attention. And when you get quiet, the masks start to fall. The ones who only valued your availability, not your soul, they disappear. But the ones who really saw you, the ones who truly valued you, they'll notice. And the ones who took you for granted, they'll regret it. They'll come back. They'll beg not because you owe them anything, but because they finally see what they lost. But by then you'll be different. You'll be whole. You'll be healed. You'll be untouchable. Because silence didn't break you, it built you. It brought you into alignment with purpose. It brought you closer to God. It reminded you that you don't need noise to be powerful. You don't need validation to be valuable. I'm telling you today, stop explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Stop defending your boundaries to those who benefited from your brokenness. Step back. Stay silent. And let the fruit speak. Let your peace speak. Let your elevation speak. God will do the talking. And when He does, every lie, every betrayal, every accusation, they will bow before the truth. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is walk away. Not because you're giving up, not because you're defeated, but because you've learned the value of your peace. Stepping back doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're wise enough to know what no longer deserves your presence. It means you finally decided that your worth isn't measured by how much you endure, but by how much you honor what God has placed inside you. There comes a point where staying in the same place, fighting the same battles, repeating the same conversations, it doesn't make you loyal. It makes you tired. It makes you forget who you are. And I believe God allows those moments to happen, not to punish you, but to wake you up. He lets the noise get loud enough that you finally realize this isn't where I belong anymore. When you step back, you're not running from people. You're not hiding. You're not avoiding. You're reclaiming your focus. You're choosing to protect the calling God has placed on your life. Not everyone can walk with you where you're going. And that's not arrogance, that's alignment. When God starts elevating you, He also starts separating you. And you have to be strong enough to let go of what no longer fits the future He has for you. You don't lose your value when you step away from people who don't see it. In fact, that's when it becomes undeniable. When you stop overgiving, over-explaining, and overextending, people begin to notice what they had, the access they abused, the love they didn't return, the loyalty they mistook for weakness. Your distance becomes their mirror. And suddenly they see just how much they depended on you, how much you carried, how much you gave, and how little they appreciated it. But stepping back is hard when your heart is attached. It's hard when you've invested time, energy, prayers, and tears into someone or something. But hear me, you don't owe your soul to anyone who couldn't hold it with care. You don't owe your future to people who were only loyal to your struggle but not your healing. Some people only love the version of you that needed fixing because that version kept you small, kept you accessible, kept you dependent. But God is calling you higher, and to go higher, you must release what is weighing you down. That's why you have to step back. Not because you're bitter, but because you're finally better. Better at seeing, better at discerning, better at recognizing what was costing you more than it was giving you. When you step back, God steps in. When you stop chasing people, you start catching clarity. That's when the fog lifts. That's when the confusion breaks. That's when your vision returns. And in that stillness, God begins to remind you of who you really are chosen, called redeemed. Not a doormat, not an afterthought, not a backup plan, but His beloved, His masterpiece, His instrument of purpose. And I promise you, when you stop showing up for those who took you for granted, it will shake them. When your presence becomes a memory, it will haunt them. When your love is no longer available, it will humble them. Because nothing is louder than the silence of someone who used to care deeply. But here's the truth. By the time they realize what they lost, God will have already taken you somewhere greater. He will have surrounded you with people who see you, respect you, and value the gift you are. People who don't require explanation to honor your worth. People who don't need reminders to be consistent. People who meet you with the same heart you've always given away. So don't fear the step back. Embrace it, use it to heal, to grow, to pray, to realign. Because when you come back, if you come back, it will be different. You'll be different, stronger, clearer, untouchable in spirit. And those who once overlooked you, they'll watch from a distance, realizing too late what they had right in front of them. Step back, not to disappear, but to be discovered again, not by them, but by yourself. The version of you that forgot what peace felt like. The version of you that gave too much and received too little. That version needs you now more than ever. So protect it, cherish it, restore it. Step back. Not to punish, but to preserve. Not to hurt, but to heal. Not to prove anything to anyone, but to prove to your worth, to prove worth saving, even if no one else saw it. Step back. Stay silent. They will beg you. There is a power in absence that many fail to understand. We live in a world where presence is often demanded, where availability is expected, and where silence is mistaken for weakness. But I'm here to tell you that your absence can be a message far stronger than your words ever could be. Sometimes the best thing you can do is step away and let the space you leave behind speak for itself. When you remove yourself from a situation, from a relationship, or from a toxic cycle, you are not losing, you are gaining. You are creating room for reflection, for perspective, for truth to settle. People often don't see your value when you are constantly there, easy to find, always responding. But when you step back, when you remove your presence from their daily lives, it shines a glaring spotlight on what they have taken for granted. Think about it. How often do people only realize the weight of your love after you stop carrying the burden? How often do they only recognize your worth when your absence becomes the reality they have to face? Absence creates a space where honesty grows. It reveals who truly cares and who is only comfortable because you were there to hold the pieces together. You have been a steady light in many lives, a consistent presence that never failed to show up. You gave your time, your energy, your heart. You stayed loyal through seasons that were hard to bear. And yet, despite your faithfulness, they never seemed to notice how much they needed you until you were gone. That is the painful truth many face, but it is also the divine lesson. Sometimes God calls us to step back not to punish others, but to protect ourselves. When you stay in a place where you are unappreciated, overlooked, or even disrespected, you are slowly losing your own sense of self. You are losing the very spirit God breathed into you. Stepping back is not giving up, it's giving space for healing and clarity. It's saying, I will no longer be here to fill a void that no one else wants to fill. When you withdraw your presence, your silence becomes a powerful testimony. It forces people to confront the reality they ignored. It forces them to wrestle with the emptiness your absence leaves behind. And in that silence, they begin to understand. They begin to see what they lost when you were always there. But don't mistake this for vengeance. Don't think that stepping away is about making someone suffer. It's about allowing God to work in hearts, including your own. It's about trusting that in the quiet spaces, the truth will rise. That in the stillness, God will restore what was broken. And that in your absence, the real value of your presence will be made clear. You have to remember, not everyone is ready to appreciate your presence while you're there. Some people only see your worth when it's no longer an option. And that's their loss. Your job is not to convince them otherwise. Your job is to stand firm in your dignity and trust the process God has set in motion. Your absence is not emptiness, it's opportunity. It's a chance for growth, for change, for repentance. It's a sacred space where the truth you couldn't speak while present can now be understood. People will beg for what they ignored only when you stop offering it. And by then you will have already moved on to a place where you are truly valued. Don't rush back into spaces where you were never fully welcome. Don't return to relationships where your absence was a burden, but your presence was taken for granted. Instead, cherish the silence. Embrace the space. Use this time to rebuild yourself, to strengthen your spirit, and to walk closer with God. In your absence, you become more than just a person. They see you as a force, a presence they can't control, a love they can't take for granted, a soul that no longer fits into the mold they tried to shape. And when they realize this, when they finally understand, they will come back. They will beg for the love, the respect, and the loyalty they once dismissed. But by then you will be a different person. You will have grown beyond their limited view of you. You will be stronger, wiser, and more grounded in who God created you to be. Your absence will have been the catalyst for your transformation, and your return, if it ever comes, will be on your own terms. So don't fear stepping away. Don't fear the silence that follows, because in that silence lies your power. In that absence lies your freedom. And in that freedom, God's plan for your life will unfold in ways you never imagined. You know, one of the greatest lessons I've learned in life is that not all battles are ours to fight. Too often we get caught up in defending ourselves, trying to prove our worth, to justify our actions, to convince others that we're right. But there comes a point where you have to realize that protecting your energy is more important than protecting your ego. Your energy is precious, it's the fuel for your purpose. And if you waste it on people who don't appreciate it, on situations that drain you, you'll find yourself empty, exhausted, and far from where God wants you to be. We live in a culture that glorifies being right and winning arguments. But I want to remind you today that the real victory is found in peace. It's found in knowing when to speak and when to remain silent. It's found in the courage to walk away from situations that don't serve your soul, even if your pride says you should stay. Because protecting your energy isn't selfish, it's survival. It's honoring the gift God gave you to live fully, to love deeply, and to serve faithfully. Think about how many times you've been dragged into conflicts that weren't yours to carry. How many times you've given your time and attention to people who never asked for your well-being but demanded your explanations? How many times you've tried to fix situations, defend your reputation, or prove your innocence when the truth was already clear to God? It's exhausting. And the enemy loves to keep you busy with these distractions, robbing you of the peace and joy that come from trusting God's timing and justice. You don't have to fight for your worth because God already declared it from the beginning. You don't have to demand respect because your Father in heaven honors you beyond measure. Your value isn't determined by how loudly you speak or how hard you try to convince others. It's determined by who God says you are. When you understand this, you'll stop wasting your precious energy trying to change people's minds or earn their approval. Protecting your energy means setting boundaries. It means learning to say no without guilt. It means walking away from relationships and situations that leave you depleted. It's not about shutting people out, it's about guarding your heart so that you can continue to be the person God created you to be. Because when your energy is protected, your spirit is free to grow, your mind is clear to receive wisdom, and your heart is open to love. You see, your ego wants to argue because it craves validation. It wants to be recognized, praised, and defended. But your spirit longs for peace and alignment with God's purpose. When you choose to protect your energy instead of your ego, you're choosing to align with God's will. You're choosing peace over conflict, humility over pride, and trust over fear. This doesn't mean you become passive or indifferent. It means you become wise. You become discerning about where you invest yourself. You become selective about who you give your time and attention to. Because not everyone deserves a seat at your table, not everyone deserves your trust, and certainly not everyone deserves your energy. When you protect your energy, you also protect your joy. Because joy is not just a feeling, it's a choice. It's a decision to not let others steal your peace through drama, gossip, or conflict. It's a decision to focus on what truly matters, the promises of God, the people who love you, and the calling on your life. And when you make this decision consistently, you become untouchable. No matter what storms come your way, your foundation remains steady because you are rooted in God's love and truth. I want to encourage you today to stop fighting battles that drain your soul. Stop trying to prove yourself to those who have already made up their minds. Stop defending your heart to those who refuse to see your worth. Instead, focus on protecting your energy. Guard it like the precious treasure it is. Invest it in things that build you up, not tear you down. Remember, when you protect your energy, you're not being proud or arrogant, you're being wise. You're honoring the life God has given you. You're making space for His blessings to flow freely into your life. And when you do this, the right people will be drawn to your light. The right opportunities will open up, and your spirit will soar in ways you never thought possible. So I urge you today, stop protecting your ego and start protecting your energy. Stop reacting to every offense and start responding with peace. Stop trying to win every argument and start winning the battle for your soul's joy and freedom. Protect your energy, not your ego. It's one of the greatest acts of faith you can practice. And when you do, you'll find that the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your heart and mind in Christ Jesus. Step back, stay silent. They will beg you. There is a quiet strength in silence that many overlook. In our noisy world, where everyone feels the need to be heard, to respond, to defend themselves, choosing silence can feel like an act of courage. But it is far more than that. It is wisdom in action. Sometimes when you step back and remain silent, you are not surrendering. You are simply trusting that God is working behind the scenes in ways you cannot yet see. When you find yourself in situations filled with conflict, misunderstanding, or hurt, the instinct might be to speak up, to clarify, to justify your actions. But there is power in pausing. There is power in refusing to engage in every argument and not feeding every fire. You have to understand that silence is not empty. It is full of grace. It is full of dignity. It is full of strength. It allows you to rise above the chaos and keep your heart unshaken. It takes discipline to stay silent when your heart aches to explain yourself. It takes faith to hold your peace when your spirit wants to cry out. But when you do, you are honoring a higher purpose. You are showing that you will not be controlled by emotions or provoked by negativity. You are choosing to walk in peace rather than turmoil. You see, silence is often misunderstood as weakness, but it is actually one of the greatest forms of strength. It is a shield that protects you from unnecessary wounds. It is a tool that allows you to observe and understand rather than react blindly. When you remain silent, you give yourself space to heal, to pray, and to gain clarity. You allow God's voice to speak louder than the noise around you. Think about the moments in your life when you've spoken too soon or too harshly. How often did those words escalate the situation rather than resolve it? How often did regret follow after a heated exchange? The truth is, sometimes the best response is no response at all. Sometimes silence speaks volumes. It says, I am not going to lower myself to this level. It says, I trust God to handle this. It says, I am at peace even when the world around me is not. Staying silent does not mean you don't care. It means you care enough about your peace to protect it. It means you trust that God's timing is perfect. It means you believe that what is meant for you will not pass you by because you chose not to fight every battle. There is a scripture that reminds us, be still and know that I am God. Being still is not just about physical quietness, it's about inner calm, a deep knowing that God is in control. When you step back and stay silent, you are practicing this stillness. You are surrendering control and trusting in God's plan. And let me tell you, when you do this, those who once pushed you, challenged you, or underestimated you will be the ones who come running back. They will see the peace you carry, the strength you built, and the dignity you refuse to compromise. They will realize that you are no longer the person who reacts to every slight or argument. They will see that you are a person of conviction, a person who walks in grace. In that moment, they will beg for your attention, your presence, your love. But remember, this silence is not a trap to catch them, it's a lesson to teach them. It's a mirror reflecting their own actions. It's a boundary protecting your heart from further harm. You must also understand that staying silent is not about suppressing your truth. It's about choosing the right time and the right way to speak it. It's about speaking with purpose rather than out of pain. When the moment is right and your heart is ready, your words will carry more weight because they come from a place of peace and wisdom. Until then, guard your tongue. Protect your peace. Step back when needed and stay silent when it serves your soul. Because silence is not surrender, it is strategy. It is preparation. It is power. So when they don't hear you, don't rush to fill the void. When they don't see your struggle, don't feel compelled to explain. When they don't understand your silence, remember that God does, and His timing is always perfect. Step back, stay silent. They will beg you. There is a moment in life when the noise fades, the distractions cease, and you are left with nothing but yourself and the truth of your journey. It is in this moment that you come to understand the value of patience. You see, patience is not just waiting. It's not simply enduring the silence or the absence. Patience is an active, powerful trust in the timing of God, a deep belief that what is meant for you will come at the perfect moment, neither too early nor too late. Many people give up too soon. They step back, stay silent, and then when nothing seems to change right away, they rush back into the chaos, the drama, the conflict they were trying to escape. They think their absence was unnoticed, their silence unheard, and their stepping back meaningless. But this is where patience becomes your greatest ally. Patience teaches you to wait without anxiety, to trust without seeing, and to hope without giving in to doubt. When you step back, it is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of a new chapter 1 where you are not chasing after people's approval or validation. You are not begging for recognition or pleading for love. You are simply allowing space for God to move in ways beyond your understanding. And that requires patience, a patience that holds firm even when your heart is aching, even when your spirit longs for resolution. Patience is the soil in which your faith grows. It is the quiet strength that keeps you steady when the world is shaking. It is the calm assurance that God's promises are true, even when your circumstances suggest otherwise. When you practice patience, you refuse to be rushed by fear or pressured by circumstances. You stand firm, rooted in the confidence that God's plan is unfolding exactly as it should. You must remember that timing is everything. The right thing at the wrong time can cause more harm than good. The wrong thing at the right time can teach you valuable lessons, but the right thing at the right time in God's perfect will is unstoppable. It is powerful. It changes hearts, it transforms situations, and it brings peace to your soul. Patience also teaches you humility. It reminds you that you are not in control, and that is a good thing. We often want to take the reins, to force situations to bend to our will, to fix what seems broken on our own terms. But God's ways are higher than ours. His timing is perfect. When you step back and stay silent, and then wait patiently, you are acknowledging that divine wisdom. In this waiting, you become stronger, your faith deepens, your character is refined. You learn to rely not on your own strength, but on God's grace. And when the moment finally comes, when they realize your value, when they beg for your presence, when reconciliation or restoration occurs, it will be a moment blessed by divine timing. Not rushed by human impatience, but carried by the fullness of God's purpose. Patience also guards your heart from bitterness and resentment. When you rush back before the time is right, you open the door to frustration and disappointment. But when you wait with patience, your heart remains soft and open. You remain ready to receive the blessings God has prepared for you without the scars of impatience. I want you to know that this patience is not passive. It is active faith. It is the faith that says, I don't see it yet, but I believe it's coming. It is the faith that endures silence and absence with hope. It is the faith that trusts God to bring those who matter back into your life at the perfect time. And here is the most beautiful part. While you wait, God is working. He is orchestrating circumstances, softening hearts, and preparing the way for what is best. He is not idle in your absence or your silence. He is moving behind the scenes, arranging things that you could never arrange on your own. So when they come back to you, when they beg you to return, to forgive, to love again, you will know that it is not because you chased them, but because God led them. You will know that it is not out of desperation, but out of divine reconciliation. And you will have the peace of knowing you waited on the Lord and He delivered. So hold fast to patience. Let it be your companion in the silence and your strength in the stepping back. Trust that God's timing is perfect and that your faithfulness in waiting will bring about a beautiful restoration. Step back. Stay silent. They will beg you.